In episode number 271, we cover Harley Quinn's animated show.
What's this? Kelly's back?
What?
What's going on?
Where I've been missing?
We also have a review for The Batman Who Laughs #1, the one that has topped The Red Death in the tie-in one-shots for Dark Knight's Metal.
And what I'm sure you all have been waiting for, our spoiler-filled Justice League review. Did we like it? You will find out at the end of the show.
All of this and so much more on today's episode.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and a child, and more. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel. We just gave everyone a double-decker, a double fucking,
Woo!
What the hell? Kelly is back, and the new goddamn theme song. I had people on Twitter, Kyle Angel was actually like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's the upgrade? I'm so hyped for it. And I'm like, it's not a huge deal. Like, let's not
This is not that great, guys.
But it's kind of cool. It's kind of amazing. Like, this is what I was telling Al last week when he guested on the show. I said it's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. It's a new theme song, and there's going to be a new outro too. But the work that went into, like, okay, let's hire a guy that can make a new theme song, and I want it to sound like this, and that's like 2 weeks of work of, okay, who do we find, and how do we do it, how's it sound, does this sound great, okay, gotta level that out now too. So there's a lot of work that goes into something as minute as that. But we hope you all enjoyed the upgrade to the opening of the theme song for the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Let us know on Twitter if you ended up liking it. If you didn't, it's an upgrade, you know, it's something more, even more professional sounding than what it was before. And as I told Al last week, with our podcast awards nominee, with our addition to Spotify as well, it's just something I've always wanted to do. I've wanted to do for a long time, is upgrade the theme song to something else, and working on another upgrade. That's a little ways away, but we'll see. But the theme song, I hope you all enjoyed it. And of course, enjoying Kelly. I'm done talking. I've been talking for the last like 5 or 6 episodes. You've got to talk.
Here I am. I'm back. Still on maternity leave from work, but now to the point where, you know, I can actually come back to the show. Raising a child is tough fucking work, guys. If you guys don't have a kid, it is everything they say it is and so much more. So I just want to give the biggest shout out and thank you to those who filled in for me while I was on maternity leave. It was, you know, a huge help just to be in the other room. I could hear you guys, but I could nap. I could take care of my fussy child and just have that time to relax and recover from your giant-headed child that emerged into the world.
From childbirth. They haven't heard from you since childbirth.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they've seen you on Twitter, but is it as awful as everyone says? Is it the worst thing in the world, the worst pain in the world is childbirth?
It was pretty fucking bad. I don't know. Have you told much of the story?
I've not told it. I've saved it all for you.
Oh, you're so sweet.
All you.
I won't go into gory details, but longtime listeners know I actually was induced early, so I went in 9 days before my due date. They had to induce me. I was in labor for 26 hours and then pushed for another 3 hours after that. So that's 29 hours at that point? And they don't feed you. So I am 8.5 months pregnant, 29 hours without food. My pain meds wore off. Your child was turned sideways and had a giant head and would not exit my body. I don't remember much of it, but I do remember telling the doctor to just cut him out of me and be done with it.
Your biggest thing was your acid reflux, whatever.
Yes.
I don't know how to use it. I've never had it.
Acid reflux, yeah.
And that was the biggest thing that you kept talking to me about. And then the being hungry, that you kept bringing up all the time. Like, I'm so hungry and I'm tired and I've got this acid reflux. And anytime you had to push and the acid reflux would come up, that made you stop pushing, or it would put a break in the push.
Yeah.
And the whole time, I'm just fanning you with a sheet of paper.
You were.
That fucking sheet of paper, I don't know how it didn't disintegrate from all of my fucking flapping.
You weren't even hitting me half the time. I was like, whatever.
I was so fucking nervous for the whatever. I don't even know how many hours.
It was a lot of hours.
But you even told me at one point, like, it's fine. Your arm must be getting tired. And I'm like, I don't feel anything right now. It's just pure adrenaline. So I'm not getting tired. I'm not getting as sleepy. I stopped. I forgot that I was hungry. Like all of that is just gone because I'm just wide-eyed all the time, giving angry looks at the fucking doctors whenever they come in and won't give you your acid reflux, your Tums.
Heartburn, yeah. So fun fact about me, I've had acid reflux for a long time, heartburn, and I used to be on medication for it, and then it got better, so I stopped. Well, when I got pregnant again, every time I got hungry, I'd have acid reflux again, and I went through 5 or 6 bottles of Tums during my pregnancy, just because that was the only thing I could take. Well, when they stopped feeding me, of course, all that acid started coming back up again. And I talked to my nurse about it, and she's like, we can give you 1 Tums every 8 hours. And I'm like, this isn't fucking doing anything, but what can you do? You're in the hospital. So yeah, I was actually in the middle of pushing, and the acid would come up, and I threw up in the middle of pushing.
A few times,
right,
yeah.
because it was all coming back up. So yeah, labor and child delivery is fucking horrible. It's the worst thing ever.
I think what upset me the most is when they would come in and they'd say, what was the one fucking thing they kept checking and they were always wrong on? Like, oh, so you're at, it was the dilation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so you're this far dilated. And it's like, no, the last doctor said I was this much. Oh, okay. And then they'd write it down on a sheet of paper. And then the next doctor would come in with a completely different goddamn number. And I'm like, how come you motherfuckers don't have a goddamn clipboard? Don't have a fucking file? You're writing down notes and pocketing it. Like, what the fuck is going on? Is this a test to see if we're lying? Like, what the fuck is happening? It was the most disorganized. I was so goddamn pissed about that shit. But like the third time, I was like, no, it's 8. Like, fuck you. Like, I was so upset. And then when the delivery doctor actually came in, and he's the guy that comes in for 10 minutes or whatever, or 10 minutes at a time for a total of maybe 30 minutes, and he gets paid the most because he does the shit, right? Mm-hmm. He knows what he's doing. He's the one who turned Leo. Like, at one point, he was looking at me, and he looked up, and in the middle of it all, he looks up at me and he says, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, don't fucking worry about me. Shit. Like, focus on your shit. Get this baby out. Like, don't even ask me if I'm good. I was so fucking upset.
I don't even remember any of that. I was so tired and so done, but it's exactly what every woman says after the fact. Like, I know that it happened, but I don't really remember it, if that makes sense. So I can tell you, yeah, it was terrible in the moment, but like as soon as they put that baby on me, it was all worth it.
Oh yeah, you forgot about your fucking hunger?
I forgot about everything. I was just like, oh my God, here's my baby. Here's, what, all of this was worth it. 100% of it was worth it for this little thing.
A little gray baby. He wasn't completely brown right away. He was gray.
He had just 2 lumps on his head. They had to vacuum him out of me because of his giant head that would not fit through my pelvis.
And he comes out and it looks exactly like me, like a little fucking clone.
Before he was even out of me, they're like, oh, yeah, he's got your husband's hair. And I'm like, fucking no. He has my blood type. That is the only thing that he got from me.
And somewhat your eye color, too. It's like a brown and blue or a brown and gray. It might change as he gets older. Maybe they'll darken up. But like right now, it's really kind of cool that it's half blue and half brown sometimes. Sometimes it's all gray. His eye color is changing. And so he got some of that for you. You can remember that bit.
And my nose.
He might have your nose. We don't know.
He does. He has my nose.
But I couldn't believe it. Like when he came out and they put him on you, and he came out crying immediately. Like that fucking guy was ready.
Cold.
Put him right on you. And I just couldn't believe, like, obviously I started crying too. And I'm like, look at him. He looks exactly like I did as a baby. And then they cleaned him up and he was real upset and crying. And it was amazing to me that the little eyes were like focusing and seeing for the first time, like existence, right?
Right.
Existence.
Right there. Yeah.
So that was incredible to me. And, a lot of people are like, oh, it's magic. It's a miracle. It's like, well, it's childbirth. Like you went through so much work for it. And this is the payoff, right? This is it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes into it. And he came out healthy. As I did give that update to the Broquettes. Is Leo is fucking healthy.
Very healthy.
Within 2 hours, when the parents finally came in, they were freaking out. Yeah. They were in the fucking waiting room for hours, and I wasn't giving them any texts.
Because you were just fanning me. Well, what happened, and what really caused them to freak out, is somebody had an emergency C-section the same time that I was pushing, and they weren't getting updates, so they thought that it was me. So they're like, "Is it Kelli? Who's the emergency C-section?" They're like, "We can't tell you." They can't give any information, of course, because patient confidentiality. Mm-hmm. So all our parents thought I was going in for an emergency C-section, which obviously means something's wrong if it's an emergency. But then some lady came out of the bathroom going, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus. They're like, oh, it's her.
Oh, thank goodness they're going through that.
Well, right, but you don't. and I've talked to my parents about it since. They said the worst part is they were watching me go through that. Because as much as I love Leo, because now he's my child, like, I'm still their child.
Yeah.
So for them to watch me go through that was one of the hardest things that they've ever had to do, because they knew that I was in so much pain and there was nothing they could do about it.
When they finally came into the room, though, like, little Leo was already lifting his fucking head and shit, like, looking around. And according to your app, it's like a month or 3 month
thing.
And he was already fucking lifting his head. And even the doctor that delivered, he's like, he's lifting his head already. Like, he was impressed by that. And I've had, like, several broquettes already being like, well, yeah, he's got Atlantean blood in him.
He's got to be super strong. He's a strong baby, though. He was grabbing things.
Yeah, he grabbed onto the nurse's shirt like, fuck you, when she was cleaning him. Like, I'm like, don't knock her out. He was so mad.
He gets really mad if I don't feed him fast enough now. He'll punch me. And I'm like, oh my God, Leo.
He's amazing. That's so fucking, I know you call him his clone. He's 90% me. So imagine me as a baby, how amazing I was. Like, think about that shit.
Well, imagine how amazing I was, and now we just mixed them together.
That's right. There you go. Little Leo.
You're just placating me. You don't really mean that. But yes, so long time ago, he's 6 weeks, 7 weeks old now. That's past. Just watching him grow and how fast he grows, and, being a parent is one of the hardest things I've ever done, because it's a full-time job. It really is, I always used to think, okay, so the baby sleeps and then I'll have time to do this and this and that. No, the baby sleeps. Right. The baby falls asleep on you and you put him down, and 10 minutes later he's awake and you've just finished cleaning bottles, and now, it's a 24/7 job.
You're not on vacation. And that's the thing. Your maternity leave is not a break.
No, absolutely not. But it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
You'd still rather be doing this than working. Of
course. But I watch him grow every day, and I watch his development, thinking back to, okay, this is how much he could comprehend 6 weeks ago, and now he's communicating with me. I can tell the difference between when he wants his diaper changed and when he's just hungry and when he's just fussy and wants to be held and when he's overtired now. And you were reading him a book last night and he stops and looks at you and he's just listening and focusing on things. And that's an amazing process to watch, even if it's exhausting and I don't really remember the first 3 weeks of his life.
And the first time I ever read to him, like, he was feeding, and I'd never seen him stop like this, but he was eating, right? He was eating out of the bottle. And then as soon as I started reading I forgot the first book we fucking read him. It was Batman, like Goodnight Batman.
Goodnight Batman.
Of course it was. And I'm reading him that, and I started reading. I'm only on like the second page maybe, or the first page. And as soon as I start, really reading and doing the Batman voices, he lets go of the bottle, like, and looks over at me wide-eyed and completely forgets. And I think this is when he realized that the guy he heard for weeks on end on the podcast in the stomach, like, he's like, that's him. That's the fucking Mom. Do you see? He can read. This is incredible. I've never seen a man read before. Wow. Like, he's just impressed by everything.
I understand the universe. That's something else that amazes me too, is even from the second he was born, he recognized my voice. Mm-hmm. So like you said, right when he came out of me, he was screaming and going crazy and crying and just hated this world already. And the practice now is they do skin to skin immediately. So they didn't clean him or anything. They pulled him out. They stuck him on my chest. They said, here's your child, which was a great bonding moment for us, of course, because then I was distracted by him and not all the rest of the nastiness that I won't get into. But when he was in my stomach, I would talk to him all the time, of course, because he's in there. And I'd always go, Leo. And I would just do that on my chest, and he would, like, calm down. He's like, oh, I know what that is. Like, it's okay. And then he started screaming again because they took him away. But that's pretty amazing to me that us as humans, like, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to watch.
And I know people keep asking you, like, when's the second one? When are you going to do another one?
What I tell people, and it gets them to shut up, it's great, is right now my family is complete. My family is perfect. 5-6 years from now, maybe I won't feel that way. But right now, it's perfect. I don't want to think about adding to it or anything like that.
Well, 5 or 6 years from now, I'm going to show you episode number 271 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast and fucking remind you.
Where I talk about how much it hurt and how terrible it was and how little sleep I'm getting. When your insomnia starts setting in. Yeah, exactly right. Yes. And I'll fucking remind you. Can I tell you, though, he slept 5 hours straight last night. And that was great. Like, he was sleeping so hard, he leaked out of his diaper and he didn't even care. Gross fun fact. Babies are nasty. listen, they can't control any of that. But so our son, the second he like pees his diaper, he's fussing. He's like, nope, change me right now. You got to change me.
Doesn't like it.
So I go through 40 diapers a day because this kid like tinkles a little bit and he's like, oh, I'm wet. You got to change me. So he wakes up every 2 hours a night, or he had been. And he had one stretch where he was down for 5 last night and another where he was down for 3. But of course, mom still slept the little 2 hours.
It's your maternal instinct, right? You're just constantly on a program,
you gotta
on a schedule.
Get up, check on the baby, yeah.
And so I know new listeners are like, I logged in or I streamed, I downloaded
and
so I can
talking about a baby.
Listen to the news and the Justice League review. What the hell's going on? They're not talking about any Harley Quinn. Look, the longtime Brokettes wanted to hear this. They want to hear what happened with you. It's the first time you come back in over a month, right?
Like almost 2 months.
So what we love new listeners. They're great. You know, we got to cater to the Brokettes too. Longtime Brokettes. And if this is your first time listening to an episode, you take it away. Once again, I've been doing this for the past 6 or 7 episodes.
So if it is your first episode, welcome to the greatest show on the internet. The way we format it is first we start out with some news, ranging from all those things we mentioned at the very beginning, comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. And we follow up with a comic book highlight of the week. And then, of course, because Justice League came out, we will have a spoiler-filled Justice League review. It'll be at the very, very end of the show. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't want it spoiled, you can sign off and miss that bit.
It's almost as if you haven't even left. Fucking sharp. Immediately. Nailed it.
It's because I'm on coffee cup number 2 today. Can I tell you that they lie to you when it comes to drinking coffee, because they say, oh yes, when after you give birth you just drink coffee, and you see all those t-shirts that say I need another cup of coffee and da 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 da, and then I'm reading, and if you drink too much coffee it gets into your breast milk and keeps your baby awake, and I'm like, well, fuck it. So I'm limited to 16 ounces a day.
So still less than what Leo drinks.
So, yes. But I will say, so longtime Brokettes, you know, I had a bunch of food aversions. I couldn't eat Taco Bell. I hated coffee through all my pregnancy. And we actually got Taco Bell on the way home. And I had Starbucks the next day.
From the hospital, right.
Right. And it was like, as soon as I popped out the kid, my body was like, all right, we good. We good. We ready to go.
That's incredible, because some moms never work that out of their system.
Yeah, I still don't really like mushrooms. That's the only thing where my body's like, we're still getting back into it. But coffee, no problem. Taco Bell, I ate a bean burrito. That's what I threw up in that fancy neighborhood that one day. Oof, it was delicious.
So it was all Leo going, fuck you, Mom. I don't want that shit.
Tofu, I can eat tofu.
Get that shit out
again.
of you. Go put it back out of your mouth. Just push that out.
just get it. And I mean, it was probably my body just didn't need that. That's just not what it needed to give him. And now it doesn't matter.
It's like, whatever, your body, our body.
It's not. I'm still making the food I need to make for him, regardless of everything else that I eat. So
there you go.
Good job, body.
Before we jump into the news for the week, we did have a hashtag game, which we'll bring to you right now.
This week's hashtag game is hashtag add a toy, improve a movie.
So my entry on this one was Lock, Stock, and 2 smoking barrels of monkeys. Did you ever play with the barrel of monkeys?
I did. I have a horror story for the barrel of monkeys.
Uh-oh.
So I was playing with some friends, right? And I was playing with 2 girls who their 2 moms were best friends. And then there was me. So I was kind of the outsider.
Right.
Because they weren't friends. Because they were very young moms, and my mom was a fairly old mom, so they didn't really connect, right? And we were playing Barrel of Monkeys, and the one girl just started grabbing all of them, like, nah, 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 nah. And I got real pissed off. I'm like, you can't do that. That's not how you play. And then the mom came and she's like, don't yell at my daughter. You can't play anymore. And I'm like,
fucking
Jesus.
What a bitch.
That's all they kind of were. That's all I remember about Barrel of Monkeys.
That's a terrible memory.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring this up. We had a couple of entries, though. Nick on Facebook said, grudge Matchbox cars.
I did play with Matchbox cars, too. They were pretty cool.
There should be a Matchbox car in the Cars movies. That needs to happen one day if it hasn't happened
Make
yet.
it happen. We also have one from @Cage023, or Julian from Lazy Gaming Guys, who said, naked Nerf gun. I'm sure someone has played that also.
And that was his Twitter handle. More Twitter followers.
Twiddle.
@KyleInge said, Barbie's Malibu Dream House on Haunted Hill. And yet another one, too. The Pogs of War.
I did have a Barbie Malibu Dream House. It was great.
It'd be even better if it was on Haunted Hill. It's definitely improving.
I don't even know what Haunted Hill is. It sounds spooky, and I'd rather not.
Been a couple movies. The remake had Owen Wilson in it. So take that for what it's worth.
Okay. We also have one from @TheReadPile who said Lord of the Ring toss.
That's how you improve Lord of the Rings right there.
That is true.
Goddamn ring toss.
I heard they're making a Lord of the Rings TV show.
They are. Of course they are. As soon as like the Hobbits thing, it's like, okay, what's next? Do a whole I mean, how many seasons can you... I don't know how this didn't happen sooner with how popular Game of Thrones is. Like any studio should be like, okay, what can we sell to HBO that is like that and have them like run with it?
I mean, there's enough content in the books that they left out of the movies. So even if you were just remaking the books.
They're doing Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
And that's less content than Lord of the Rings.
Good,
You know, that was 13 comics or whatever. So, and final one is from Riggs on Facebook. He said, Furbylicious. Wait, that's a song. What are we doing again?
That is very Riggs. Furbies are fucking scary, though. Did you ever have a Furby?
I had a Furby. I wasn't scared of it, though.
Oh, man, no. So there were those rumors going around that people were putting the cameras in the Furbies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing. But I had a Furby, and I remember Mom was repainting the house, and she had put a big green spot, like a forest green spot, on the wall. And I was just walking around with my Furby, and I held my Furby up to it, and he went, ooh, scary. And I was like, oh, how do you know? And, like, I never played with my Furby again. He would randomly make noise.
Turn on randomly?
Yeah, right? Did yours do that, too?
Sometimes. Yeah, they would just randomly make noises. No.
A little demon thing. Mine was a ladybug.
I'm also 2 years older than you, so at that time, yeah.
Stop. You always throw out you being older than me.
I've got to do it. I've got to catch up on 6 weeks of not doing that. So I'm going to keep saying that. Everything is now an excuse for the rest of the year.
You know, I'm older than Leo, so.
So thank you so much for playing in the hashtag games this week. If you want to participate, make sure to follow us on Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke, Instagram, actually, we don't put it on Instagram, but follow us on Instagram too, @TheReasonsI'mBroke, but Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke, and @PalpaKelli, just like Palpatine, Palpa-Kelly. Or I should say Palpatine is like Palpa-Kelly instead. It's the reverse, right?
Hell yeah.
And
Palpatina. Can somebody make a
someone's going to rip you off. Yeah.
Somebody will. Somebody make a Palpatina. Not as cool as Palpa-Kelly.
And you too can participate in the hashtag games, and we may use it right here on the podcast. But with that out of the way, we can jump into the news for the week.
So we're going to start out with some Wizard World news. After a Q3 report, the company believes there is, quote, substantial doubt that they can continue past November 2018.
I remember we had covered it about 3 months ago. They had hired someone new to handle the media, and it was someone from Rooster Teeth. I don't know if you remember that story.
Vaguely.
Huge YouTube channel, and they said, why don't we hire someone from one of these big channels to handle our media campaigns, our social media, all of that. So they did, and things don't happen that quick. If I were that person, I'd be like, look, I need more time than just 3 months. And unfortunately, the quarters just go that quick. And unfortunately, for the next earnings, they said, this is pretty much it. Like, if we don't have some big turnaround on these conventions, we are not going to have any more Wizard World past 2018. And the company actually had a loss from operations of $4,454,857 and $182,246 for the 9 months, which ended on September 30th, 2017, on to December 31st, 2016.
So it sounds like they just made changes too late in the game.
Probably. It's one of those weird things. Wizard World currently has 17 conventions planned for 2018. We're probably going to see a chunk of those canceled. Wizard World Orlando got canceled this year, and that's something I was really excited for, especially at the Orlando Convention Center. I definitely was ready to go. I had my press passes. If that didn't go, I would have paid for tickets. Would have gone either way to Orlando Wizard World because I want to see what they bring to the table. MegaCon got nervous last year, and they did like their October MegaCon to try to keep them out of town. And I don't know how much of that affected.
Is this the Wild West? We gonna keep you out of town, Wizard World. Pachoo, pachoo.
There's only room for one big convention apparently in Orlando. No, bring them all on. Let's do them all. We love that shit. And
they're a bunch of weirdos here.
We're some of them, huh?
We definitely are.
And yeah, I mean, I want to see Wizard World do well. More conventions are a good thing. Now, I have said in the past that my favorite convention right now, as of today, is C2E2. They nailed it this year. Amazing. Slightly edged out MegaCon, which we still adore. But with Wizard World, when I went to Wizard World Chicago about 2 years ago, it was more disappointing. Things were more expensive. The guests weren't as great. And the layout itself wasn't as tight. So it seems like from what I'm reading on the comments section to a lot of these stories is people are saying one thing, and it doesn't make sense, and you immediately shot it down, and you can do it right now, is that, well, this is what happens when your conventions turn into Mediathon and not focus on the comics.
No, and we were talking about this, of course, earlier in the week, and like I was saying, you got to bring those people in to bring other people.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have those media. That's, when we go to conventions, that's where you see the most people waiting, is around with the media guests, because my dad watches Game of Thrones, right? Or he was watching Game of Thrones. If he liked it enough, he would go to a convention just to see a particular actor from that show because he liked it so much. Whereas if it's just a comic book thing, then he's not necessarily going.
Especially if it's a year like when DCU and Marvel was happening where comic sales were like really low. It's like, yeah, you got to expand. You got to diversify your market. You can't just have comics, because what if it's a slump that year of comic books? That can be your business gone right there.
Well, even with the comic books, too, again, if you just have it comic books, you have people like us who are interested in the artists and the writers. And then you still have a whole slew of other people who read the book for the story and don't even know who does any part of it.
Right.
So they might, again, go for the media guests because they recognize those faces. And while they appreciate the comics, they're not going to wait in line for Gail Simone or somebody because, again, they don't know them.
Right, they're not taking your spot in line. They're not just there like, oh, if they only focused on media, it's like a gatekeeper type of mentality. It's like they should only have comic guests and only have people. It's like, yeah, if you want to have half a fucking convention. These things have grown because, as you mentioned, there are media guests. There's cosplayers, star cosplayers, and those people just show up or just congregate in those areas. And as you mentioned, you're probably not going to see them in Artist Alley getting a commission where I'll be.
Right.
And I'm not going to be over there getting a signature from a voice actor unless it's fucking Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy.
It's not stepping on anyone's toes. It's not like you're going to get even more comic guests if you just do comics, and you're not going to get more earnings if you just do comics. Again, you're focusing on a smaller piece of the market.
It's unfortunate that we're not going to get any more Wizard Worlds, but like you said, it doesn't seem like they were doing the right things to keep those people. Seems like they made changes a little bit too late. We'll see what happens with the rest of this year, but that's probably it for them.
However, I don't want to give up on them either. I want them to continue. I want more conventions in the future. I hope that their next, 18 conventions or whatever for
17.
the 17 conventions. I hope they're tighter. They're revamped in the way they're run. And one of the changes they made is like they cut down on security to save money, but then like there was that guy that brought in a gun to try to kill the Green Ranger, and they're like, well, whatever.
Okay.
So and I know it's a budgetary thing, and I know it just seems like there's not a coordinator of all of these conventions to really go, okay, this is how we need to run every fucking show. This is how we need to compensate our volunteers. And this is there has to be one vision to the whole convention scene, and it's not going to be fixed by one guy that you hire to handle your social media. It's simply not. So hopefully Wizard World does turn around, as you mentioned, but if not, there's going to be more conventions. Other conventions are going to take its place, and that's going to be it. So we'll find out in, I guess, 2019.
So moving on to something that I saw coming from a mile away. Following talks between Disney's and 21st Century Fox, Comcast has stepped forward as a player in the acquisition.
So why'd you see Comcast coming in?
I saw Disney coming in. Disney's going to get them.
You think Disney's going to,
Fox.
That's nice, Comcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
So no,
Disney's been saving their money. I've been telling you this for a while.
Yeah, you have.
They're saving. They're sitting on it.
Well, let's play fantasy here. According to you, this isn't going to happen. But if Comcast acquires 21st Century Fox, it would add to its comic book licenses, which they do have Boom Studios already. And we talked about that 3 months ago, about the Lumberjanes animated TV show. And what was it? Oh, there was one more. Like, they can even do an Adventure Time based on the comics. I know they're trying to end that show, but they've got original properties that they've been working on with Boom Studios. And Comcast had previously purchased DreamWorks in 2016.
Are they going to make another Shrek?
Hopefully. I mean, I think it's gone enough where you can go, okay, we can probably bring back Shrek and it'll be fine.
Hell no, keep Shrek away.
For how much longer? He's coming back one way or another.
He'll come back someday, but give us a few more years.
You're like, not yet?
You got some weird donkey dragons in there, and no, I can't. Keep it away.
So you don't think Comcast is... Wouldn't that be hilarious, though, if Comcast was like, yeah, all right, sorry, Disney. And then they had the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
I mean, it would be hilarious, but it's not going to happen. Disney's not going to let that go. With all the Marvel they already have, it would be stupid not to acquire the rest of it.
It would be stupid for 21st Century Fox to not go, I know you guys really fucking want this.
Well, and they will, and Disney will add a few more zeros.
Hey, Comcast, what are you going to do with Wolverine if we give him to you? Oh, that's cool. Marvel, Disney, do you think you can do something better? Well, I think your paycheck could also be better. You want to add 2 more zeros to this fucking thing, and it's all yours, but all right, Comcast, here I go. What are you willing to pay, Comcast? Oh, I can't hear you, Disney, sorry.
I want that to be the reason that Comcast is doing this, because they know they'll never beat Disney, but if they can squeeze them out for a few more billion...
So they're just trolling Disney at this point.
They're like those eBayers that eBay on themselves.
I'd be the greatest negotiator. 21st Century Fox, hire me. Give me $1,000. I'll fucking negotiate this deal out of it. Give me 0.5% of your deal with Disney, and I promise I will get you at least another $500 million out of that deal.
You would too.
I don't know, Disney. Like, I'm so coy all of a sudden. I just get more and more coy. Comcast over here.
Why'd you become gay and British too?
Because Comcast is now like the stallion trying to acquisition the fair maiden, if you will.
Okay.
From the rich prince.
Wolverine is the fair maiden?
No, 21st Century Fox is the fair maiden. Okay. But in a way, yeah, Wolverine, because he's part of that deal anyway.
Well, Comcast isn't the only one trying to steal some Marvel things. Miles Morales' co-creator and writer Brian Michael Bendis recently revealed while he had jumped from Marvel to DC.
So here's the reason why.
Yeah, supposedly.
This is it.
Okay, go ahead.
Quote from Brian, who said, I was in town for my brother's wedding, and I went to the library, which was so important to me growing up, and I saw the Superman display. It was a flood of impressions and Cleveland connections. While looking at the Superman artifacts, I realized that I had not climbed the DC mountain, and I needed to. End quote.
Let me translate this for you. Okay? I got it. I got this. I've spent 7 weeks. I understand things now. More things. So I was sitting at home the other day, and my contract was ending, and I said, hey, DC, my contract with Marvel's about to end. How many zeros you gonna put on that paycheck? And they put enough zeros.
Brian's agent was working overtime fucking week. Like, holy shit, like, what are you coming back with? Okay, Marvel, give me a second. Hey, DC, if you can pay him this much, you got the contract. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm sorry. I know I said you'd get the contract, but give me a second. I got to run it by Brian first. Hey, Marvel, so they're going to pay this much. Like, that's all that was happening back and forth.
He needs to go work for Comcast.
All right, Brian, you're signed on with DC exclusive for the next decade. Come up with a fucking story. Like, you're a writer. Romanticize the idea on why you're now working for DC.
Superman
People have to buy mountains. Your books. Brian was joking on Twitter. He said, to make the transition easier between Marvel and DC, I've asked both companies if I can use the amalgam characters and make a book out of it.
Okay.
So Dark Claw and Captain Superman? I don't remember what it was, but you know those amalgam characters?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, fucking, I want to see that shit. You're never going to see that again. But It was just a funny thing. Like, yeah, why don't we do it? Let's do a Brian Michael Bendis amalgam universe. Bring that shit back.
Well, it's the mountain to climb. Good for him.
With the loss of Brian Michael Bendis, though, there are more changes to Marvel with comics. And we've said it before. We said something needs to change at Marvel. Heads need to roll based on what's happening. Marvel Legacy, it's selling the pretty covers, and some readers are jumping on. But this is not DC Rebirth. This is not the New 52. This is not what they intended. And because of that, Axel Alonso has stepped down as editor-in-chief of Marvel Entertainment and left the company entirely. Did not step down into another position. He is gone.
C.B. Sobolski will be taking his place and has been with Marvel since 2002.
Since 2016, Sobolski has been working out of Shanghai as Marvel's VP of International Business Development and Brand Management. Since then, he's built up the brand for the company in the Asian markets.
We have a quote here from him, quote, "Spending these last 18 months in Asia and introducing more fans here to the depth of the Marvel Universe, I've seen firsthand how our comics and characters constantly bring joy into people's lives all over the world. I hope to continue capturing that creative magic here at home and deliver inspirational and entertaining stories that are true to the classic Marvel DNA, but built with an expanding global mindset," end quote.
I don't know who Cebulski necessarily is. I don't know what kind of changes he wants to bring or if there's going to be any changes to Marvel. Someone, once again, had to go, and that had to be Axel in this case. If the Dio's DC Rebirth, if Jeff Johnson's DC Rebirth hadn't worked out, you can be sure that the deal would have been gone. And this happened with Marvel. Their Rebirth did not work out like they wanted. And their fucking tactics of order this much percentage to qualify for the 3D cover, like all of that is bullshit. It's not comic shop friendly. And we know Marvel has not been comic shop friendly for a long, long time. And this is a product of it. It's like, we're done playing these fucking games. We're done playing the variant incentive game. We're done doing all of that shit, you know? If you're not going to play ball with the comic shops, who are your sellers, your retailers, this is what's going to happen. And your brand is not going to succeed as you want it. You know, you look at what DC just did with Doomsday Clock. Hey guys, no incentive variants. Order whatever you want of the lenticular cover, over whatever you want of the main, of the B cover, the Gary Frank one. If you qualified, or if you have the comics, even if you don't have a midnight release, here's the 1157. That it wasn't the midnight variant, but it's the 1157, just like the Doomsday Clock variant of this book. Here you go, comic shop. Sell it the next day. It's fine. Oh, by the way, here's a bunch of buttons. You guys like buttons, right? Oh, that's what we're writing about too. You like to watch the comedian's button? Here's a shit ton of buttons as well. Order those. And here's a bunch of prints. For every guy that buys your book from your shop, you give them a print. That's another thing you can give to them. So they're going, you can have all these things. Jeff Johns and DC, they sent comic shops, select comic shops. Ours didn't get it, but a bunch in our chain did. Jeff Johns signed lenticulars of Doomsday Clock. And I'm like, fuck, man, that's insane. And it's just another thing of, thank you so much for carrying our book. Here you go. Another thing. This is what they need to do whenever there's a huge launch. It's not, oh, comic shops, here's our new line, but you got to order 125% of what you ordered for this previous thing. Like, fuck you, man. Do you want us to sell your book or not? Like, what do you want? You know, it's, and hopefully this change is that change as well. Like, no more games, no more, and I know why they do it is to boost up the numbers, to inflate the numbers. But with that guy's head rolling, who are you impressing now?
Right.
Like, that guy's gone. The next guy's going to come in and he should say, no more of that shit. Let's do what DC did. We already did their Rebirth thing, so why don't we just bring everything else with it?
Why don't we just steal more of their stuff?
I mean, they kind of have to. You know, you got to play with your retailers. You have to work with them.
Right. Hopefully this is a step in the right direction. Of course, we have to wait and see what happens with these new people in charge, what direction they're going to take. But like you said, what DC is doing is all the right moves, and hopefully they see that and pull from that.
Moving along here to an exclusive TV show that is coming. We love Harley Quinn. Big fans of Harleen Quinzel. You bet we're fucking suckers for this. We're going to buy the app. We're going to subscribe to the app anyway. Deadline is reporting that an animated Harley Quinn series fucking took this long. I couldn't even believe it. I wasn't even asking for it. And it's the thing I didn't know I wanted, right? We'll be streaming exclusively through Warner Brothers' streaming app.
The synopsis is, Harley Quinn, who has finally broken things off once and for all with the Joker and attempts to make it on her own as the criminal queenpin in Gotham City, end quote.
The promotional art featured Amanda Connor, and it had a bunch of the characters that they're going to feature. So it's going to be straight out of the current run of Harley Quinn. And Margot Robbie is actually set to voice Harley Quinn in this 26-episode series.
I'm actually really okay with that.
It's not Tara Strong.
It's not. And it's not Big Bang Theory.
I'll take her over Tara Strong.
I would take her over Tara Strong too, but I thought that Margot Robbie did a great job as Harley Quinn.
Better than both of them, right? Better than Tara and, yeah. I mean, that is, if you can't, and they can, but if Arlene Sorkin does not want to do Harley Quinn, or she's retired or whatever, I know the real reason is they haven't asked her to come back, unfortunately. But if that's the case, Margot Robbie, she's not too big to do an animated series. They pay her to do it. Fine. Even better for an exclusive streaming app like this. It has all the right moves, right? This looks like it's going to be a success.
Harley Quinn would join other streaming exclusives such as Young Justice Season 3 and the live-action Titans show. I think with all three of those, you're going to get a shit ton of people on this app.
Is there enough right there to say, okay, this is worth me me applying or signing up for this streaming service?
Hell yeah.
Young Justice Season 3, it's got people that's going to appeal to people our age and younger.
Mm-hmm.
Titans live action for people that watch CW and they want to see what else happens. You want to see Nightwing? There you go. You can see him on Titans. Harley Quinn animated series exclusive to that fucking app. Genius. And by the way, when they come out with this, they can say, and Batman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, all of the DC animated movies will be on this fucking streaming app. They're no longer on Netflix. You can have all of this. Here you go. $8 a month. Done.
And it is all going to come down to the price point. But like you said, $8 a month is about the going rate for all of these streaming apps. I don't see them going much higher than that. And it would totally be worth it for that price.
Continuing on here with the live action side of DC, according to the LA Times, Henry Cavill is under contract for one more film appearance as Superman.
We have a quote here from Cavill. Quote, "There is a wonderful opportunity to tell the Superman story. Now there is a fantastic chance to show Superman in his full colors and tell a very complex, character-driven movie that is based on story and have that wonderful sensation of hope and happiness. A feel-good movie with lessons laced in as well." End quote.
I know a lot of people were saying, well, maybe with the way Justice League did, he might not want to be in any more movies. That sounds like he's like, yeah, just keep them coming.
Just whatever.
I'll keep doing them.
I have a fun fact about a Superman movie that maybe you don't know, and I read it on Facebook today, and I did not tell you because I finally want to tell you something that you don't know. Because every time I tell you, oh yeah, I read that.
I saw it on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I saw that days ago. I know things. And I don't think you know this one.
All right, let's have it.
So, both Jason Momoa and Zack Snyder revealed that in Man of Steel, when Superman falls into the water and sees the whales...
Yeah, it was Aquaman that supposedly
Fuck!
It's fucking bullshit, though. They actually said that, though? I didn't know this.
Yeah, they did.
Actually
they
said
actually
it. They're
said
full
that.
of shit.
It was from AMC.com.
They're full of shit.
AMC Theaters.
They're full of shit because that was all symbolic again for the mother and father and his bringing up as a... That is nonsense. And I know a lot of people said that before. They're like, he actually got saved. That's the same fucking shit as like the Joker's Jason Todd.
And then they're saying that's why Aquaman in the movie says that line about crossing paths.
Whoa, he said that?
Yes.
God damn it. Fuck, man, now it's confirmed. Like, I think they just decided to make it as a part of the thing later on. That's fucking
But you
nonsense.
didn't know that they actually said that, so I actually told you something.
Yeah, you did. And it's a stupid fucking thing. It's silly.
Just let me have my moment.
No, you have it, but it's a silly fucking fact. I can't believe they said that.
Yes, they
Unbelievable.
said it. It was said, and now you know it. He got saved by Aquaman.
Yeah, and that little kid in Iron Man 2 or 3 was Peter Parker as a young... It's that kind of fucking thing.
Well, who cares? Listen, I knew it before you did, so I'm happy now. My 6 weeks of leave was worth it to find that one fact. I couldn't come back till I knew something you didn't know.
Here we have something from the director that we've been slamming leading up to the release of Justice League.
Last week, Joseph Whedon angered DC fans by liking a tweet.
That is the story. That is literally it.
That's it.
The tweet that he liked read, hashtag Justice League Steppenwolf is the worst comic book movie villain of all time, and not even Malekith the Accused, or Accursed, comes close, end quote.
Remember 3 years ago where you could post whatever you wanted on Twitter and nobody cared? And now here we are. So fans quickly responded to Joey with tweets like, quote, "You are absolutely repulsive. How dare you even like this tweet?"
And other tweets like, quote, "Your fingerprints are all over this film and you had yet to voice out any kind of support for it. You are despicable and you have single-handedly ruined Zack Snyder's Justice League," end quote.
Well, he did do that. But anyway, we'll get to that. So others on Twitter quickly pointed out that David Ayer also liked a bunch of hate tweets from viewers, but through a funny way of protesting. The comparison has been made with Whedon since he was also involved with Malekith the Accursed.
So basically some people are saying he is actually trolling them by liking their tweet and saying...
no, he's not.
He might be. I don't know. Like, David Ayer liked a bunch of tweets that were slamming Suicide Squad. He was liking them, and people were like, oh, look at him. It's a way of protest. And maybe Joey is doing the same thing. I don't know. Because he was also involved in the Malekith the Accursed. So he's kind of saying, like, oh, you're also slamming my other character. That's funny.
But here's the difference. We like David Ayer, and we don't like Joey Whedon.
That's true. We can choose the narrative.
And this is our podcast.
I was trying to be fair, but yeah, fuck you, Joey Whedon. God damn it.
And I'm a mom now, so I have special privileges of doing whatever I wanted. I was texting some people from work, and they were talking about, like, how tough their life was because they missed their coffee or something. I'm like, oh, really? I pushed a child out of me. And they're like, well, how long are you going to hold that over us? I'm like, forever. Until you become a mom, too.
I think the difference between Joey and David here is that Joey only liked the one tweet, whereas David was going through and just liking all the tweets that were slamming his movie. So, I don't know. That's probably the difference, and that's why. But DC fans, including, myself, we're very sensitive. It's a very sensitive time for us right now, so we blow up at anything.
The internet blows up as everything.
That's true.
So we'll never know if he meant it as a joke, or, he'd probably come back out and say, it was a joke, guys.
He unfavorited it. Someone at Warner Brothers said, fucking give me your fucking goddamn Twitter. Give me that shit.
So it wasn't a joke. That's why he unfavored. Because if it was a joke, then he'd go and favorite other things. Maybe.
If it was a joke anyway. Because then they'd be like, and now he's liking these other tweets that are slamming his own movie. Fuck you, Joey. Like, it was just someone, like, just unfavored it and just
be
stay out. Yeah.
Oi.
So that is our news for the week. Before we jump into our reviews, we've got two of them, a comic book and a movie review. Patreon shout-outs of the week.
Our first shout-out goes out to Christian, whose Twitter handle is at Rocketman_131.
Thank you so much, Christian, for your support on Patreon. He's recently been retweeting a lot of the positive support and for Justice League that's currently going on. So one of the things was, even though Steppenwolf is the fourth worst DC villain right now in the DCEU, he's still better than most of the villains in the MCU. So that's one of the things he was tweeting, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Like, the MCU does still have a villain problem, and this was probably the first whiff for the DCEU as far as villains.
Our next shout out goes out to Redmans.
The mysterious Redmans.
Mysterious Redmans.
Still know nothing of him. Don't even know if he liked Justice League or not.
Ooh, don't even know
if he saw it.
If it's really a Redmans.
Not sure. He's like the ninja of our Patreon backers. No idea. He's great, though. He's back in the Patreon.
Yes,
that much we know. We know he likes the podcast. That's all we know, everyone.
So Redmans this week has listened to our podcast and contributed. Thank you.
That's the news for Redmans, absolutely.
And our last shout out goes out to Kat, whose Instagram is at Main Street Cat.
And she's been tweeting out on Instagram, or I guess it's not tweeting out, but submitting pictures on Instagram.
She's been Instagramming on Instagram.
There you go. Disney pictures. So if you don't often get to go to the parks, follow her account to see pictures of the parks, of the different...
Of how busy it is.
Yeah, Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, all of those she does put up on Instagram, again, at Main Street Cat. And she is our latest Patreon backer. So thank you so much again, Christian, Redmans, and Kat, for your shout out this week and for your support on Patreon. If you would also like your shout out for as little as $1 a month, that equals out to 25 cents an episode. If you feel like you're getting 25 cents of entertainment, information, comedy, if you're happy that Kelli is back,
woo!
Head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsim'broke, and you too can get your shout out and help out the podcast as we move on to the next goal.
But of course, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do for us is reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the show. We do this for all of you guys. So letting us know if there's something you want to hear more of, if there's a way we can improve, and also letting your friends know about the show as well.
As forever, we are always looking to improve and change the podcast or improve it, whatever it may be. Big thanks to decalavenue.com for the support on Patreon too. But I don't know if you remember or if you caught it, but listeners can now leave us voicemails.
Yes, I did. I heard about that in the rumblings as I was feeding our child in the other room and watching Girl Meets World. Can I say, I just want to let listeners know, in our child's 6 weeks of life, he has seen every episode of Boy Meets World. And now we are working through Girl Meets World, which is a pretty good follow-up for that show.
I know initially you said it wasn't quite the same. It didn't have the same charm. Is it because you were getting used to it, or did it build into Boy Meets World?
I think it's a little bit of both of those. the thing I like about it is they touch up on the previous show enough and kind of make fun of the previous show for things that it did that didn't make any sense. For example, Feeney being their teacher from 2nd grade all the way through college.
Yeah.
They make fun of that. They bring back literally every single adult character or almost every single adult character. There's 2 so far that I've seen that weren't from the previous show.
Right.
So even... like, Minkus is back in the show, right? I'm sorry, I'm going down a rabbit trail.
He becomes an asshole in this. Like, before he was just an annoying guy, but now he's a fucking dick.
Well, because he owns, like, a helicopter and stuff. Anyway, even his wife was somebody that Sean used to date and was in 2 episodes. And it's the same actress. Like, everybody is the same actor or actress from the previous show.
That's fucking nuts.
I mean, it's awesome. You have Mr. Turner's back in there. You have Feeney all the time. You have... Eric's back in there. They even got Jack to come back for an episode.
Who was Jack?
Jack was Sean's stepbrother that Eric lived with in college.
Okay.
So he comes back. It's great. Like, all the adults are there. Corey and Topanga are in every episode being Corey and Topanga.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same exact characters.
Yeah, you get even fucking when Corey has his little brother who's just a baby in the show. They got the same actor to come back and play his older self. Everybody is the same, and it's wonderful. Makes me happy. I'm sorry, continue. That was my rabbit trail.
No, that was it. I mean, you got it. I was talking about our voicemail.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, voicemail.
Speakpipe.com/thereasonsI'mbroken. We have another voicemail, and it's going to be in our Justice League review. But you can head on over, and there's going to be a link as well in the show notes. Speakpipe.com/thereasonsI'mbroke. And you can submit a question, you can submit feedback, whatever it may be. If you've always wanted to ask something and want to be heard on the podcast, that's the link right there. So there are 20 spots a month that can submit 90-second or less feedback or question or whatever. So the sooner you get on there, the sooner or a better chance that you will be featured on the podcast. So as we continue doing these, those spots are going to fill up quicker and quicker. So I will put out a thing on Twitter that will ask people if, hey, submit your feedback for Justice League, for example. Or next week it'll probably be Doomsday Clock. So if you've read Doomsday Clock, submit your speak pipe right now or whenever you're finished listening to this, and we may feature it next week. But
can I fill up all 20 spots?
if you want to be an asshole.
Hey, Kelly, don't forget to buy peanut butter at the store next week. Thanks.
So with that, let's move into our first review of the week, our comic book highlight.
This week's review is The Batman Who Laughs #1. This is written by James Tynion IV, with art by Riley Rossmo, and the colorist is Ivan Placencia.
So this is a one-shot that ties into Dark Knight's Metal. Mm-hmm. All of these have given us a origin story to the characters that have been featured. And in this case, it was the final one, the most anticipated one. What happens when the Batman and the Joker merge together into a character? It ended up being that. I wasn't sure initially. I'm like, no, it might be something else. That is definitely what it is. So in this dark multiverse, Batman ends up merging with a character or taking their powers, whatever it may be. And it's telling the story of these characters who eventually leak into the main universe, which is what we love. And Batman and the Justice League have to fight an army of Batmen who have been corrupted. Oh, and by the way, they have the Justice League powers on top of that. So now we're hearing this story, and it's the final one of what happens when the insanity of the Joker merges with the calculating intelligence of the Batman.
It's fucking dark. That's what happens.
Incredibly fucking twisted.
This is probably one of the darkest books that I've ever read.
No, I agree. And again, this is a spoiler review for this and Justice League coming up. But in this one, it is, what's the worst thing you can do to Batman? And that's to recreate his parents' murder right in front of him. And the fucking Joker murders 2 parents in an alleyway. So Joker knows Batman's origin. And at this point of the story, we don't know what happened.
It was more than just 2 parents. Did you catch that?
No, what happened?
He had a whole fucking line of people, of 2 parents and a kid. And he was just murdering them one right after the other while Batman watched.
No, I missed that shit.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
Fuck.
That was there.
And that's what made Batman snap, right? And kill the Joker. And when he killed the Joker, Joker, of course, has another plan within him. As soon as his heartbeat stopped, it released the Joker gas that was a new strand to Batman that he couldn't find a cure for in time. And it ended up essentially bringing the insanity of the Joker into Batman's mind. So he's scarier than the Joker. He's scarier than Batman. It's the Joker's tactics and silliness and randomness and calculating with an even more calculating Batman on top of that. And that's what this Joker ends up becoming. This is what Batman ends up becoming. Superman mentions someone dying and Batman laughs and it slips out. And I don't know how Superman wasn't suspicious at that point because Batman's like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not funny. And then he murders his whole family. He murders Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, Batwoman, Jason Todd, or I'm not Jason Todd. Yeah, Jason Todd. He fucking killed him too. Basically everyone in the Detective Comics except for Clayface. Like he fucking mowed down. It is scarier than the Joker. It's much more darker and twisted, and he ends up recruiting these other members of the family because his end goal is just to murder as many people as possible.
Well, so he kills Superman, but before he does that, he gives something to Superman that makes Superman kill his own family. It
makes him tear his own son and wife apart, and it's black kryptonite. And it's insane and fucking dark, and he's just watching. And we still don't know who the other Robins are. Like, we know one of them was, I think one was Damian Wayne that he gassed with his Joker gas. Yeah. I don't know where the other kids came from. Maybe it's those kids the orphans, right? That from the families that he destroyed. I don't know. But it's just like, it's so fucking, it's a scary book. It's dark. It's twisted. I think the only criticism I guess I would have, I love Raleigh Rossmo's art. Like, that was creepy enough, and he did the Batman Shadow book that we had recently wrapped up on. But in this case, I kind of, he's more Joker than he is Batman, and I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, like maybe some twisted form of justice out of this Batman Who Laughs. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't just completely evil, but he was also, he had no objective morality against criminals or good people. But in this case, it seems like he's only going after good people or innocent people. So that's the one thing I would have probably done a little bit different, just to have people go, huh, so that's not completely wrong. And maybe that could have been your twist or your turn or your hero to Dark Knight's Metal. I don't know. Maybe he's that far gone. I don't know. So maybe there's a little bit of Batman still left in him that would change him, but there's a little bit of Batman left in all of those characters. But something special about the Joker always, right? Because it's the other side of the coin. Right. So it might still happen. Maybe, you called it or I called it, or who knows. But I think that's the one change I would have done. Just a little hint of Batman in that madness.
Overall, it was a great story. It was a good book, but you got to have a heavy, like you got to have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared because it is very twisted.
That was probably the part that got me the most. Not necessarily the moment of snapping of Batman and killing the parents. I think it was Superman because I love that book so much.
Yeah.
And we've grown up
attached to those characters.
Superboy and Lois Lane and Superman. It's like, fuck, man. Like, it wasn't enough. Like, Superman wasn't enough to stop any of this, and the rest of the Justice League members got torn apart too. It's a scary and awful and dark book, but it's the Batman Who Laughs, right? You expect it out of the most twisted character out of these Dark Knight's medals. Who's the main villain? Barbados? I don't know. He might even be more twisted.
Isn't Barbados someplace in the Caribbean? That's all I think of every time I hear his name. I'm like, are they going on vacation?
Maybe they are. I don't know. So if you haven't found them, I mean, a lot of these are gone. First prints are gone, but there's a second print coming. If you haven't read it and you want to own the Twisted Origin to the Batman Who Laughs, go to your local comic book shop. There are second prints coming to the Batman Who Laughs.
And with that, we can wrap up our podcast for the week, except for the spoiler-filled Justice League review. So if you haven't seen Justice League yet, and you don't want anything spoiled, this is where we say goodbye. Thank you guys for listening to my return episode.
That's right.
But if you guys have seen Justice League, or you have no desire to and just want to hear our thoughts on it, that is how we will be ending our show today.
I think it's something more. Something darker.
Just like our previous movie reviews, we are going to rate this based on story, acting, directing, and special effects. And, of course, our Superman loves Batman moments in this.
Of course.
Maybe they were changed. Maybe they were, I don't know. We're going to figure it out in a second. The way we rate them basically is out of 5. So in this case, we had decided out of 5 parademons, was it? So out of 5 parademons, we're going to give this, the Justice League, a review. And the rating, you rate it more as it stands. So you rate it based on a superhero movie, whereas I rate it based on a film. So I compare it to the best movies of all time. You compare it to maybe some of the other DC movies or some of the other superhero movies. So now that's kind of the measurement that listeners will take. Justice League was directed by Zack Snyder, who of course did Man of Steel previously. Written by Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio, who worked on Argo, and Joey Whedon, who did the screenplay on Toy Story.
It starred Ben Affleck, who was in Good Will Hunting, Gal Gadot from Wonder Woman, and Jason Momoa from Stargate Atlantis. I love that you picked Stargate Atlantis.
Why not? And that's probably what he was most known for before Game of Thrones.
Well, yeah, before that, because he didn't really do anything. But nobody watched Stargate Atlantis. I watched all of regular. I watched all of regular Stargate. I saw one episode of Stargate Atlantis. He's going back to Atlantis. Fuck! I just made that connection. Jesus.
It all makes sense. A bit of news before we jump into the review. It had $281.5 million in worldwide gross against a $300 million budget.
This is in the first weekend.
Right, an opening weekend, of course. As of we haven't taken in Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday by the time this episode releases. It's just Thursday through Sunday of that opening weekend.
Right.
It is the lowest domestic opening weekend since Green Lantern for Warner Brothers' DC films.
Justice League, though, did set 2 box office records. The first is the largest IMAX opening ever at $13.7 million, and the second is Brazil's top opening weekend of all time, where it earned $14.2 million.
So while it did have the lowest earnings of the DCEU so far, it is not a flop. People are like, oh, it's a flop. No, that's not what a flop is. A flop is when the movie is incredibly in debt in the box office, and it hasn't even opened in Japan yet. It's gonna make its money back and then some. Even if it just broke even in the box office, which it won't, it's actually gonna make more than that $300 million. You still have the Blu-ray sales, DVD sales, streaming sales, exclusivity, all of that shit. So it made its money. The toys on top of that, the merchandise, the Funko Pops, and we are selling those. People are buying Flash, especially Funko Pops and merchandise. So no, it is not a flop. It made its money back. The DC universe is not canceled. People are saying, no, they're going to cancel Shazam. It's like, no, they're not going to fucking cancel that shit. Aquaman's finished already. It's fine. They're going to keep making these things. It wasn't a flop. But it didn't perform as well as it could have. I mean, I think we can talk about that. I lost my fucking bet with Bobby.
Yep.
In what universe does Justice League make less money than Thor Ragnarok?
You tell him you were just talking about Brazil. Just Brazil.
No, I made sure I'm specific. I'm good with my bets. I said North American box office opening weekend. Like I had no loopholes, man. Like I'll take my loss. I'll buy him 2 beers. Maceo was going to buy him 2 beers too. He was like, remember I made that joke of like, he told him on Twitter, man, if you wanted to buy Daniel a beer so bad, you didn't have to hide it in some bet. Like, you'd have just bought him one. But he also was like, holy shit, this made less than Ragnarok. Ragnarok's $130 million. This was $96 million or something in the box office domestically opening weekend. It's like, fuck, man. Again, what world do we live in where a Justice League film makes less money than Thor Ragnarok? It's incredible.
Stupid world. What did we bring our child into?
Well, I haven't seen Ragnarok. It might be better than Justice League. I have no fucking idea. But just the fact that it's called fucking Justice League, you know what? Buying 2 beers. Enough. So be it. You know, it happened. And it's really fucking bizarre. It's definitely been a weird year. We have a voicemail, though, before we go straight into our review for Justice League from Neil on Twitter @inmats68. We'll play that right now. Thank you again for recording via SpeakPipe.
Justice League. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun ride from the beginning to the end. It had just enough humor to balance out the action throughout. Aquaman and the Flash, both hysterical. I thought Cyborg was a badass. Overall, my experience with Cyborg is heavy towards the Teen Titans cartoon. So to me, to see him in this new light and to really take charge and step up and be a member of the Justice League, I think they did very well with him as a character. As always, Wonder Woman was phenomenal. And regardless of what the critics say, I thought Ben Affleck was perfect as Batman. Just the right amount of humor for the character, but he still had that inner darkness that you could see. The few various surprises throughout the movie were great. Yeah, the villain could have been a little stronger, but overall, I think it was a great movie, and I'm probably going to see it at least once, maybe 2 more times. And then this will be something I pick up as soon as it comes out on video.
Thank you for submitting it, Neil, and taking up my 1 space for my groceries. That's that I wanted. No. But yes, thank you for using our new service and letting us know what you thought of the movie.
Neil clearly liked it, and it seems like most people I've talked to have enjoyed it in spite of the critical response, which was a Rotten Tomatoes, rotten rating on the website, which is really bizarre because there's some reviews that are contradicting themselves from the same reviewer and saying Batman v Superman is too dark and pretentious. And then they review this movie years later, a year or 2 later, and say, this could have been more like Batman v Superman. It was too light and fluffy. It's like, what the fuck do you guys fucking want, man. This is a response to all the fucking whining about BVS and Man of Steel being too dark and too complex and too pretentious, and it should just be more fun and light. These are characters. Superman's not Superman. He's not smiling enough. Okay, here's a shit ton. Every fucking character smiles. Here you go. This is literally almost half a Marvel film. No, it's too light now. It's such fucking shit, man. It's like, this is why you don't give critics or audiences what they want. They don't know what they fucking want.
Right.
They don't know what they want. Although, maybe I'm wrong about audiences because most people like them. It's just critics that are going to slam the movie. It affects the box office. I have no idea. Like, I'm glad. Let's go into the fucking review. I'll summarize it again at the very end. The story itself. We know in the timeline of the film, Steppenwolf went into Earth before the Justice League members to try to gather the mother boxes.
5,000 years ago.
Which the mother boxes actually unlock the power to churn Earth into Apocalypse. Essentially an environment that is more like their planet.
It terraforms it, yes.
And in that past, the humans, the
Amazonians, the
Atlanteans, and a Green Lantern of that sector. Holy fuck.
And the gods.
And the gods, Ares himself.
Zeus.
Or, I'm sorry, Ares was filmed but cut out of the film. Zeus. I wanted him. He wasn't as flowy, like ooh, like in the Wonder Woman movie,
lightning.
like oh my robe has fallen over my nipple, like oh man, like he was just like ah, like real bodybuilder. I'm like, that's not the Zeus I remember. Give me the Zeus that was like real dainty and firing.
So yes, they all fought Steppenwolf, didn't kill him, but drove him away and hid the mother boxes.
Yeah, they hit him. They split him among the three groups that were fighting in there. So the Atlanteans protected one, the Amazons protected the other one, and then the humans protected the final one. And according to the story, Steppenwolf went insane in that this was his first major failure. And because of that, he was exiled from Apocalypse. He could not come back. And to prove that to Darkseid that he is a proper general or a proper ruler, he comes back to Earth after word gets out that the Kryptonian is dead. And I don't know, that part got lost to me. I don't know why that mattered or what signal. Is it the Codex? What is it?
The mother box called him back because he mentioned that several times in the movie. Now I see why you waited till now to call me back. So the mother box knew that the Kryptonian wasn't there. Hope was gone. There really wasn't anybody.
Oh, that's right. Fear.
Forward.
Fucking fear. That's right.
There was fear all over the place. And then the mother box called him back to destroy the world again.
The mother boxes were activated by fear, which is what the world was in, a bunch of turmoil. And as soon as Superman died, that's when the mother boxes were activated. That makes complete fucking sense. I know one thing people were saying, like, Steppenwolf's motivation didn't make sense. Like, you missed the part where he said that he couldn't come back to Apocalypse. Like, this is why he couldn't return, and this is why he's going to destroy Earth.
Well, they didn't really, highlight it that much. They could have done more. But anyway, let's the story.
Batman knows that these parademons are coming to Earth, that they're already on Earth. The fucking opening scene is him tackling a goddamn parademon. The most Batman thing out of this whole movie.
That's what the parademon does.
Is him tackling a parademon in midair and fucking flying with the goddamn thing and capturing it. Like, I was like, this is fucking Batman. He's got the Arkham games. He's got the little fucking gauntlet thing. Like, goddamn, that's straight from the games.
He's playing the Arkham game on his gauntlet. Wait, when did this happen?
It almost looked like he did. He had like the map there. Where I'm like, are those Riddler trophies in his gauntlet there? This is great. So, because of the parademons, he wants to recruit a team that can help drive off the forces that he knows are coming ever since Superman died. Mm-hmm. And he investigates the mother boxes, the symbols first when the first parademon dies, goes and finds Aquaman. And that was part of the first teaser. And he knows the Atlanteans are guarding at least one of these boxes, or he's learning more about it. Arthur Curry says, no, fuck you. I'm not going to. The last person you worked with, Superman fucking died. I'm not going to help you. I have no reason to help you. Literally none. I'm just going to do my own thing. And he goes back to the ocean. And meanwhile, Diana is on Batman's side. She says, yeah, we need to find a team and recruit one. So she goes off, tries to find Victor Stone, tries to convince him. He says, no, I'm going to work on my own. These aren't gifts. I'm cursed. By the way, fucking Cyborg story. Incredible. I did not think I would like Cyborg story as much as I did.
I really liked him.
His was we didn't see his origin. We saw it in BVS, like in that security tape, but it's like, we know he merged with the mother boxes. He's afraid of the machine taking over the human. And that's the story that's his arc throughout the whole thing. And there's a change at the end. And that's what I like. At the very end of the movie, he's confident in his abilities. And he knows that the man and the human and the machine are one, right? And he's not going to be taken over by the other.
He's not going to lose himself.
Exactly. And that's his arc, and there's a change, and that's character development, right? That's how you do it. So I really like Cyborg. Eventually he does come back when the parademons kidnap his dad, and that's when he's going to work with the Justice League to stop them, and he sees the importance of the whole mission. Flash, immediately on Batman's side, right?
Of course.
His thing is he doesn't have a job. He's visiting his Dr. Manhattan, his dad.
His dad in jail.
In jail. And
kind of socially awkward, doesn't have any friends.
Right, and his dad's telling him, stop visiting me, find your job, live your life. I'm literally not going anywhere. I'm going to be here for the rest of, you're wasting your time, which hurts the Flash. Like, Barry Allen is very upset by this. So his whole thing is he doesn't have a place in the world necessarily. He's just stuck on this thing of, I just need to focus on my dad, and isn't moving on and moving forward. Aquaman's arc is that he doesn't belong to the ocean. He doesn't belong on Earth. And the Atlanteans are saying, you're the half-breed that never returned, but you're the rightful king to this throne, right? And he's upset that his mom left him on land and believes that he was abandoned, but Mara explains differently.
Yeah, she explains that because his mom was the queen of Atlantis, and I guess she hooked up with a landman.
With with Ponyo's dad, right?
Oh, yeah. Was it Liam Neeson? Yeah. So, yes, abandoned him with his father, left him with his father, so that she could go back, and she was ultimately killed. And Mara explains that if she had kept Arthur, Aquaman, Momoa, Daniel, then then he would have been killed too. So that's why she did what she did.
So by the end of the arc, he finds his place on the team, right? It's in between he actually returns to Atlantis at the very end, so he can finally like face his past, his origin, who he really is, but not turn his back on Earth, and that's why he's a part of the Justice League.
On land. Atlantis is part of Earth.
Well, fine.
It's all Earth.
You're right.
Thanks. That's what you got me.
And I guess I don't know who else am I missing? Batman's
being Batman.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if he had a change, because apparently they cut out a piece of dialogue in which Wonder Woman talks to Batman and says, "You are a changed man ever since Superman died, and this is why you don't kill anymore." They cut that shit out. I'm going to blame Joey Whedon and the executives for that one.
You got Superman.
Superman was initially doubtful when he returned, right? And wasn't the hope of Earth, as the Justice League and Batman were telling him. You are hope. You need to return. He accepts that role and becomes Superman again. He is that hope for not only Earth, but also the Justice League. And
they bring him back to life with Mother Box.
They do. That's part of the story. Before we go into that, though, Diana, from going into hiding, she is now in the spotlight again as Wonder Woman. And not only that, but she is the leader of the Justice League, which I thought was really interesting because you haven't seen that before. And it is Batman essentially grooming her because he believes he's going to die. He says he deserves to die, but he is grooming her to be the leader of the Justice League, to be the person that he knows he can't be. He says it himself in the movie. He's not human. Superman is more human than he is, and he's a fucking alien, right? So I thought that was great. That by the end of it, Diana says, "Okay, I know that these are all Steve Trevor," as she says, but I can also protect them, and I understand the importance of sometimes people have to be Steve Trevor. People have to die. But I almost felt like Batman was her Steve Trevor this time, because he says, "I need to go and I need to die and I need to do this." And she says, "No. Aquaman," she sends the team to save fucking Batman, so she does not let Steve Trevor die. She does not let Batman die.
Right. To clarify for those who haven't seen the movie, because we kind of talked about it quickly, that's Batman points out that he had never even heard about her. Like, she was big in World War I, but nobody had ever heard about her, even though she had been around. So she pretty much admits that she's been hiding in the shadows because of what happened to Steve. She's been holding on to that. She didn't want that to happen again. And by becoming a leader, she says, "I've always been a warrior," because when you're a leader, you're pretty much telling people that it's okay for them to die when you send them out to do things. And she didn't ever want to have that on her head. Which
is a little weird, because as we saw in Wonder Woman, her mom fights in the fucking front lines too, like so I thought that was a little bit mismatched.
Yes, but if you remember in Justice League, and that's why that moment with Diana, I think, really struck me pretty hard, is when Steppenwolf comes to take the Mother Box, her mom is there, yes, fighting on the front lines with Steppenwolf, but understands that she needs to get the Mother Box away from him. And as she's exiting that cave where he is, she pretty much condemns all those Amazons to die. Like, she doesn't try to get any of them out of there. She runs herself with the Mother Box because she knows this is what she needs to do. She's their leader, and she has to understand that their sacrifice is worth it.
That's true.
You see her cry about it afterwards. Obviously, it tears her up the person that she's with gets crushed by the horse and dies. But she, as a leader, has to pretty much say, yeah, you guys are worth dying for this greater cause.
Mm-hmm. Because with this gone, that's the whole Paradise Island is nothing.
Right, is nothing.
After that.
Is nothing. So Diana, having grown up with her mom being the leader, probably saw that better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was.
Right, and that's her change on there. Mm-hmm. I guess the mother boxes are slowly gathered up by Steppenwolf. Goes into Atlantis. That was like the easiest fucking... No, that was the second easiest mother box. I'll go into the first one. But he goes in there. That's where you see the history of Mera and Aquaman. One thing that the director of Aquaman, I forgot his name. I think it was James Wan. He says there's not going to be any air bubble dialogue in my movie. So that's one thing that people are like, so they need to make these bubbles every time they need to talk. So I don't know how he's going to explain it in his, but maybe Aquaman develops the psychic, communication thing. I don't know what it is, but by the time he returns,
he may just not
maybe
have
he needs the suit to, I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but he's like, there's not going to be any of that in my movie. So we'll find out. But when Steppenwolf gets that mother box, he gets the mother box near the beginning of the movie from the Amazons. And then the last mother box, Cyborg's like, oh, I know exactly where it is because he's connected to everything, anything technology. He sees the Batcave immediately, like he finds it. Because Batman doesn't have protections against people like Cyborg. It's the first time he's seen something like this. And when he gets the mother box, they use that as a way to bring back Superman. And that's the one thing that I was like, this is the least fucking Batman thing ever in these DCEU movies. Even more than him killing, because we've seen him kill in the comics and in the Burton movies, right? And that's when he says, we need to use the mother box to bring back Superman. And they're like, no, how do you know it's going to work? We have to try, even if there's a 1% chance. It's the opposite of his BVS argument. And I understand he's a changed guy, but Batman would be like, oh, no, we don't want to have a Doomsday again. Fuck that shit.
Right.
You're going to put him in the exact same fucking thing that created Doomsday. Now, the one thing, and this is another fucking frustration, apparently they cut out a thing where Cyborg has extra dialogue where he says he has the Codex in him from the Kryptonians, remember in Man of Steel, and that's why he's not going to corrupt like Doomsday, like General Zod did. So they cut that out. So that's why I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, no, fucking Batman, he would not accept this. And if they had just kept that bit of Cyborg where he's like, and he said it, my calculations are, yeah, we can bring him back. It'll be fine. While you were being an asshole to Diana, I figured out that you can actually bring him back and most likely he'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And, but it's still weird that Batman was the one that was suggesting it when it should have been someone else. He should have been the one doubting it, even with his fucking guilt. And that's what Diana says. Oh, just because you feel guilty about Superman dying doesn't mean that we need to try to force him to come back. And that's what he brings up Steve Trevor. Like he's a fucking dick in this. Mm-hmm. But that's Batman, right? He is an asshole. I don't know if he's an asshole like that. That's the one thing that I'm like, I don't know. Again, I kind of would have written Batman a little bit differently, but this is the least Batman out of the DCEU so far. And again, even with the killing in BVS. Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they bring Superman back. Superman goes a little bit crazy, but then they bring in the big guns, which is Lois Lane. She comes in.
Contingency plan.
Yes, contingency plan. She calms him down. They fly off to Kansas. And Steppenwolf steals the mother box.
When they're all like, fucking goddamn it. No one was watching the mother box. No. He's like, thanks. See ya. Fucking gone. Easiest mother box in the world. Justice League are guarding it or not guarding it completely. They're all too focused on.
I love that mother box, though. So you had the Amazons who put it in this special cave and the Atlanteans who put it in this special cave. And then the humans just fucking buried it.
They don't have fucking special things.
They're just like, we're gonna put this in the woods.
They buried it though, and then they didn't tell any, what was it, the different tribe members. I would have liked it if they showed them all killing themselves right there. Like that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, like they buried it.
None of them knew. Yeah, that would have been awesome. But whatever, it would have been found.
They would have found their bodies. They would have been.
They would have spread and then killed themselves. I don't know.
Here's some dead people.
What was in here? Let's get. Yeah, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He needed to get all 3 mother boxes. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. Superman goes back to Kansas, as you said. Martha Kent sees...
Martha.
Sees Clark, talks to him for a little bit, and he's like, you're right, I gotta be Superman again, and leaves. Which apparently was another cut, in which originally, because you saw him seeing everything in X-ray vision, and he was freaking out, just like he did in Man of Steel. In the original cut, and Joey Whedon refilmed this, so maybe Zack Snyder's vision was not refilmed as they were saying. Maybe it's not necessarily Zack Snyder's film anymore. His original cut was Martha, or Yeah, I mean, she was telling him the exact same line from Man of Steel, put yourself on an island, and she calms him down just like she did in the first movie. So it was a tie back to Man of Steel, which, no, let's refilm it there in the court scene. He smiles, hey mom, it's me, thanks, bye. That's what people want, right? They want more fucking smiles and jokes and shit. So that's what it ended up being. And, you know, he flies off and he saves the Justice League in the nick of time, right as Steppenwolf is putting the 3 mother boxes together to awaken the power. Oh, no, that was cut 2. I'm sorry. Originally, it was to awaken the power to be able to go back to Apocalypse and defeat Darkseid, but that's gone too. So Steppenwolf is just trying to terraform this to prove to Darkseid that he can do his job. He can be a general. Batman knows he believes he's going to die. He tries to take down the fucking the base that they have built to protect the mother boxes, and all the whole Justice League members go in. They essentially defeat Steppenwolf in a way with Superman's help. Batman thinks he's going to die, but they all help him. And again, Diana's arc is wrapped up in there. They all work together. There's this weird fucking subplot with these Russian family that it's like, that meant nothing.
And
like
bug
it was just
spray and,
a fucking thing of like, look guys, they care about civilians because you guys whined about Man of Steel and all that destruction. So look guys, everyone still cares about, God damn it, man. All these criticisms don't work out for the better. Make your fucking movie. Don't listen. I don't know. And I know one of the brilliant things in BVS is that Batman, they turned that criticism of the destruction into Batman's fuel, right, to defeating Superman. But goddamn, it fell on its face this time. If you can't already tell, this was my least favorite of the DCEU films.
So the next category we're going to jump into is the acting. So for me personally, they were themselves. They were the characters they were supposed to be.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone that I felt did a bad job of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Henry Cavill did the smiling Superman, which was what everyone
everybody
wanted.
wanted.
Everyone else was. We have Leo in the room, by the way. Now that his presence is known.
Yes, he's like, I'm gonna tell you what I thought of it too, guys. Leo, you weren't even there.
And yeah, I mean, I had no major issues with the acting. Alfred was great. Steppenwolf's voice actor was awesome.
Yes, his voice actor. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think nothing bad to say about the acting at all. Everyone was solid.
Affleck was good as both Batman and Bruce Wayne, as we've seen before. Gal Gadot was Gal Gadot. I think The Flash was probably my favorite. I thought that Ezra Miller, he did a really great job.
Played it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing there. I mean, it's all solid right there. Probably the acting was the best part of this movie.
Yes, I would agree.
The special effects and the directing. So some scenes you can tell were Zack Snyder. Some scenes you can tell were Joe Whedon. They all still had that same color palette, so it looked like it was of the same movie, but I think it's because
to the trained eye.
I think it's because we know that Henry Cavill had to CGI. They had to CGI his fucking mustache. So you can tell which, like, okay, that was Joe Whedon. That's a Joe Whedon scene.
Right.
It's unfortunate, and there's a lot of editing that went into this shit. When James Wan was talking about the Aquaman film, I still don't even know if that's actually the director's name. I forget, but people were saying...
we're going to call him that forever. Like, even if we meet him in person, you need to call him James Wan.
When he talked in that tweet that he said about the air bubbles, like there won't be air bubbles when we speak. The two tweets, the top tweets were immediately, lock your editing room. Keep the WB execs out of your movie, man. It was just going to be, it was going to turn into Justice League.
Right.
Steppenwolf as a CG character looked terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he looked
really
fucking
did.
terrible.
There were a lot of scenes with Cyborg that looked really bad, too.
Not as bad as the trailers, though. Like, I was fine with Cyborg for the most part. Like, there was not one thing that I was like, okay, that looks fucking weird. I don't know. Maybe I was so distracted by Steppenwolf's terribleness.
Steppenwolf was really bad. And how hard would it have been to do some kind of costume for him?
I have no idea, man.
100% CGI.
Like, I understand that he was taller than the other League members. He had to be bigger. They fucking made Hagrid huge.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem. I mean, I do have a problem with it. But CGI him when you have a scene of everybody.
Okay.
I get that, so that he's taller. But there are a lot of up-close shots of him. There is no reason that when it's just his face or just him talking that you couldn't have done makeup. You couldn't have made his head gear, his helmet thing. There's no reason they couldn't have done any of that. Mm-hmm. Like regular makeup.
Yeah, that looked terrible. It was not polished up. It did not look right when he was talking or moving or any of that. Like I don't think there was any motion capture as far as like they didn't even do that for the film. And I know they're trying to save money, but that looked fucking awful. Yeah. When Superman was first flying in the air and floating, like he looked real fucking ragdoll-y when he landed on the fucking monument and he's walking around. That looked fucking terrible.
Well, something that bothered me too in one of the very first scenes when Wonder Woman jumps in and is saving everybody.
Okay.
They CGI'd her moving fast.
Right.
Which looked terrible. And it's like, why couldn't you have just filmed her making those motions and sped it up? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason behind it that I don't know.
We're not filmmakers.
I don't make movies. I don't know. But I feel like it was just an easy way out when, we saw those scenes in Wonder Woman of her taking down all these bad guys. And it looked so good and it was so dynamic because it was actually her doing these things. And they strung it together like that. And this was just, whoa!
A video game. Like, it was a fucking video game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looked terrible, too, at the very end when they're in that fucking red sky. And we know in the original trailers it was supposed to be like a dark blue and black sky. It wasn't supposed to be like daylight like they made it. That's another fucking fact of, you gotta make it lighter and you gotta make it happy and you gotta make it more colorful. You guys gotta make these things more colorful.
For audiences.
And that's why it ended up being this fucking weirdo CG mess that we got in the movie, unfortunately. And I have no idea. I don't know why these decisions were made, and it's unfortunate because there could have been a way better film in it.
Right.
But the special effects were definitely lacking, and I can't decide if it was the story or the special effects that were the worst outcome in the end. I have no idea. I don't know.
It's a little bit of a mix of both. I think for me personally, I think that you and I notice special effects more than other people. And it bothers us more than a lot of general audiences. So, for example, when I'm going to use my parents as an example. I love my parents, but when I talk to them about movies, special effects aren't something that they ever bring up about looking good. They say, oh, it was really funny. It looked great. All that stuff. For you and I, special effects and CGI are very distracting and pull away from the movie. And again, I bring this up all the time for Brokettes who haven't been with us before. We took a lot of film classes in college. So I think getting to see those older films, those Oscar-winning films where they did use puppets, or special makeup and, actual things, it makes a lot better movie-going experience for us because we know it can be done. And we don't like it when they take the easy way out. So for me, it pulled away from the story because I was going, ugh, Steppenwolf. So I think if they had done those things differently, if they didn't have as much CGI or as bad CGI, we could have been more involved in the story than we actually were. So yes, it is a mix of the both because the story could have been a little bit stronger too. But at the end of the day, you could have a strong ass story and bad CGI and I'm still going to get pulled away from it. Right.
No, I know, and the story is the most important part of it, just like a video game, right? You want the story or the gameplay to be the strongest part of the movie. In this case, that didn't happen. I don't know where the mess came from. It probably obviously has to do with Zack Snyder having to step away. Has to do with critics and their complaints in Batman v Superman. And in this case, I think that's what frustrates me the most is we got the movie that they wanted. We got the movie that audiences were complaining about with BVS. We got the movie that critics were complaining about. And now it's become, and I mentioned it before earlier, it's become half a fucking Marvel movie. Everything was a goddamn joke. Fucking Batman, yep, something is definitely bleeding. Fucking shut up. Fucking give me something to digest. Don't give me junk food.
What's your superpower? I'm rich.
Well, that was in the Snyder Cut. But again, that's still a part of people wanted more fucking jokes. People wanted more of this shit. And I did not get... maybe I didn't get as much as audiences. Maybe I'm not looking for that shit. But the scene of Aquaman sitting in the lasso of truth and, he's fucking, look, he's in her feelings, everyone. And everyone laughed. Everyone was happy. And I'm like, can we get another scene? Some iconic scenery, some fucking imagery in this fucking shit?
The jokes that I appreciated and was okay with were, for example, when the Flash is trying to fist bump Cyborg. And then... he's like, oh, we're not there yet.
Racially charged.
But that's something that the Flash would do. That's what the Flash is for the Justice League.
In this case, yeah.
Right. We saw it in Justice League Unlimited, though, where the Flash was the comic relief. He was...
Wally West.
Yeah, he was the one who kept it lighter for everybody. So that's what I expect from the Flash.
Even though this is Barry Allen and not Wally West?
Yeah, that's fine. I still expect it. It's the Flash.
They're all the same. Same shit.
All the Flashes are the same. We got everybody in this room right now. We got Leo snoring over here and the dog shaking. So
Making her bed right now. Yep.
She's got to. She's like, oh, you guys are talking? Let me just make all this noise that Dad has to edit out because...
Oh, there's no editing that shit out. It's like when Matt was on the podcast and she was whining. I'm like, well, that fucked it all up. What was ironic is you were leaving because Leo you could hear him in the background, but he can barely hear him. But then as soon as you left, she freaked out and she immediately came to find me. So it's like, as a result of that, it became a worse thing.
Well, he was about to cry real hardcore, so you would have heard that even worse. But I don't know. I guess we got it all in here now.
So I think that's my main summary of the movie. Is it was jokey, it was light, it was junk food, there was some bits to still digest, which is why I call it half a Marvel movie.
Right.
There was still a little bit there for us, like the character arcs between all the characters. They all went through some change. They all overcame something in the end. The weird thing too was Steppenwolf being defeated by feeling his own fear, and then he gets eaten by his own parademons. It was so like TV movie type of fucking ending, which I didn't like, and I expected him to put the mother boxes together, and oh shit, here comes Darkseid. It's the New 52 arc of the first one where he comes through the boom tube. They have to push him back through. Or we get a scene of him going back, which we did, and then in Apocalypse, Doomsday blows him away or talks to him or whatever the fuck it is. And we didn't get that shit.
Right.
We never saw Doomsday or Darkseid. We never saw fucking...
I felt that all the Steppenwolf stuff was really... It wasn't explored or expanded as much as it could have been, and it would have been a stronger film if it was. So, for example, after the 5,000 years ago when he... doesn't defeat Earth and goes back and gets banished. Okay, show me that. Show me 10 seconds of him back on Apocalypse, and now we understand and now we feel for him, and it's not just, oh, he's trying to terraform Earth. It's, oh shit, man, he needs, like, this is his life. This is how he gets his life back, which he lost.
Exactly.
And then you feel for the character instead of just, oh, here's this CGI man just with
talking about it.
Really wrinkly face and his weird horns.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like it's as people said, it's like a Marvel villain. It's still better than most of the Marvel villains, but at the end of the day, this is the worst villain we've gotten in the DCEU thus far. The story is an alien invasion story. There's a little bit more it's better than Avengers because there's character arcs here and there's progression. But it's still the worst in the DCEU films. There's nothing to digest there aside from the slight character arcs. It's all fucking jokes and CGI and action and that's all this fucking movie is, and that is all. Like, there's great nods there for DC fans. Like, let's get that again. This is why it's still better than some of these other movies. Like, there's the race between the Flash and Superman, which was fantastic. There's the Green Lantern nod, which some was cut too on top of that. But we saw Green Lantern.
It was cool.
I was the only one and I saw it a day early thanks to Bobby at Cuban Slim. And I was the only one in the theater. I turned to Bobby. I poked him. Oh, like that was my exact noise. Like, oh, Green Lantern.
The noise I made when I saw our child for the first time.
yes.
That's what you're saying about Green Lantern.
Because it felt like I was seeing Green Lantern for the first time. Like, that's Green Lantern right there. Fuck yes. That was incredible. And when you saw him, weren't you like, holy shit?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, because I wasn't expecting it. That's just something you weren't expecting.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
The Flash and Superman race was amazing. The first time, there's some cool moments. Like, there's a scene when Superman is catching up to the Flash, and he first turns to him, and everyone's really like, holy fuck. And we know as fans, like, yeah, the Superman, like, Flash is faster than Superman, but not by much. You know, Superman can match Flash's speed, and that's what we saw. And yeah, Flash was also faster here, because he was able to avoid all the punches that Superman was throwing out. But he was freaking the fuck out. Like, I've never had someone this fast against me, and Superman is there to kill him.
One thing I did like about the Flash they did, I think the Flash is probably like my favorite character in this movie, is he was still a regular guy. Like, he was fast, but he knew if he got hit by something, that was it. He was done. And you see him getting thrown into things, and he gets hurt. You know, he's still a regular person.
Yeah, and his suit helped some, and something someone brought up is like he went through concrete wall and he's fine, I guess.
He went through a concrete wall?
When Steppenwolf, in the final fight, Steppenwolf throws him against like a wall and the concrete breaks behind him. But it's movie logic, right? It's fine, whatever. But yeah, you're right. It's just he's not quite, he's still growing. He's probably the youngest and the least experienced in spite of Cyborg, least experienced guy. Like, Cyborg's hacking into shit.
Right. We get to see that moment too where he's like, look, I'm scared of bugs. I'm scared of everything. What do I do? And Batman's like, just get in there and get one person out.
Save one person.
Save one person. And he's like, well, then what do I do? And Batman says, like, you'll know or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Something, I don't remember. And he gets in and saves one person. Then he's like, oh, shit, I can do this, and ends up saving
I
them
can
all.
save more.
Right. Which I really appreciated that moment of his growth, because you're getting to see him become someone worthy of being in the Justice League.
Exactly. That was a really cool scene. Again, there's some brilliant spots here, but as a movie overall, and it unfortunately doesn't connect together into this big
Right.
experience. You know, I never once got goosebumps. Even in the Green Lantern reveal, I didn't get goosebumps like it did in Batman v Superman or Man of
Wonder
Steel or
Woman.
Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman. The scene with No Man's Land, the scene of Batman fighting Superman for the first time. He has his
Deadshot
armor
going,
on.
Donna,
Yes.
Donna, no, Daddy, we can be together.
Oh my God. So fucking Diablo fucking die. All that shit, like goosebumps again. It's incredible the things that they did before this, and we don't get that in this case. Superman's return is not a goosebumps moment. Green Lantern is like, oh, but it's not a goosebumps moment. It's Deathstroke in the post-credit scene. Very cool. But by the way, that's my Jason Todd moment of cinematic,
Yes.
the cinematic universe, because I've been telling Broquettes, and we've been telling Broquettes for months on end, like, don't forget Deathstroke is in this movie. But I didn't know he was going to be a post-credit scene, so now I'm an asshole. Like, I'm a
'Cause you
dick.
spoiled it. But I spoiled Godzilla and King Kong, and
That's true, you did.
that doesn't make me an asshole.
Because it's not as big of a reveal. Now when people see Deathstroke, they're like, oh, right, Daniel reminded us for the last 2-3 months that Deathstroke was going to be in this film. Because everyone seemed to have forgotten. And I kept telling people, don't forget Deathstroke. And sure enough, he's the post-credit scene. I'm like, God damn it. This is not a surprise for Broquettes now. And I blame Joe Whedon again.
Yes.
Because the original post-credit scene was supposed to be Tomar Ray and Kilowog visiting Bruce Wayne at the fucking lake house. God damn it. Again, WB execs and Joe Whedon. And I mentioned this on Twitter, like somehow Joseph fucking Whedon, whatever you want to goddamn call him, that person was able to ruin an entire film with minimal reshoots, with tiny bit of reshoots. And I had my friends on Facebook saying, that's like saying the substitute teacher ruined your grade for the entire year. It's like, yeah, that substitute teacher made that exam worth all the fucking points and made the other exams in the other months worth nothing. Like, that's what Joe Whedon fucking did. And you brought up Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, it's like changing the ending to Mrs. Doubtfire with one scene where Robin Williams goes to jail in the end instead of, for being a weirdo,
Right.
for being crazy. And it's exactly that same analogy. It's like, well, yeah, if you want to go to the substitute teacher, I'll fucking translate it for you.
Scene, yeah.
If you want to, compare it to a movie, you fucking did it. It's like, yes, it is possible to ruin a whole fucking thing. And yes, it is possible to make enough cuts in WB's mind. And we're probably not going to see the Justice League cut. We got the Danny Elfman score. It's like, yeah, that's really cool. You heard the Batman the Animated Series and the Batman 1989 music in some scenes. The rest of it, forgettable. I don't fucking
remember any of it.
The theme songs to most of these the whole
But
movie.
you know what I do remember? Donna, Donna. And you know what I also remember? Wow.
that wasn't in the movie. I don't think.
That was in Ragnarok.
It was in the trailers, sure.
Yeah. Was it not in the movie? Well, I don't want to see
no
that
idea.
movie
I have
if
no
it's not in the movie.
I don't know. But it's that. Those are. I mean, you speak. I clearly I didn't like it.
Right.
I did not enjoy it.
Why don't we move on to our next category and then we'll talk more in our
Yes.
final summary. So our next and final category, our special category is we still have directing, don't we? It was directing.
It's a mess. The directing was a mess.
Yes,
there you go.
There you go. Okay, Riverdale was directed better.
The fucking best comic book TV show on television
Riverdale
right now.
is great.
Yes.
Go watch it. Okay. Anyway, our final category is, and we'll need a theme song for this,
Oh, we've got it.
the Superman loves Batman moments.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound.
Pick them out, Kelly, because I was confused with that too.
There were lots.
Justify them.
There were okay. The only thing is, and poo-poo on the movie, is they made it seem pretty mutual.
Yes, they did.
They did, because Batman's all, oh, we need to get Superman back. Do, 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 do. But Superman's always like, Bruce, and like looking off into the distance, because there's the scene in the cornfield where Lois is like, you need to go be Superman. Bruce.
He's like, I know I need to let you go. And he says, Bruce. I was like, that fucking Superman loves Batman right there.
Yes.
That's the most Superman right there.
So there were a few Superman loves Batman moments.
And Superman, he has a dark side moment because he gets angriest at Batman out of all the Justice League members. Like, he's trying to fight. And that's what I whispered over to Bobby in the middle of that scene. I was like, he's fighting his inner feelings.
That was a cool moment, though, where he's fighting Batman. He goes, do you bleed? And I was like, oh, because he fucking said that to you.
And then it was followed by the villain. Yeah, I'm definitely bleeding somewhere.
Okay, Iron Man.
Fucking bananas. Stupid. Fucking... I can't do those fucking, like, there were jokes in the other movies, not like fucking that.
Right.
Not like fucking that.
So, yes, there were Superman loves Batman moments, and I'm glad they were there.
But the other one was, there was two, when Superman first comes back, and Batman's giant smile on his face, like, oh, he's back. Like, fucking, god damn it, they got that wrong. How do you mess that part up? And then the other part is when he's like, I thought you didn't like me. Like, yeah, Superman's flirting a bit with Batman, and then Batman's like, I don't not like... He's a fumbling fucking idiot, like, all of a sudden.
He's a high schooler.
Exactly
fucking
right.
High schooler.
God damn it. Like, they got a couple bits right of Superman loves Batman, and then they messed up some other parts. Again, half a fuck-up. It's half a fuck-up. You said you liked the movie when we came out of the theater, so give your final ratings and your thoughts.
So... Do you want to go first?
I just want to finish this. I'm disappointed. Like, I'm really disappointed.
I'm going to guess that you're giving it half a parademon. Maybe one parademon.
Am I judging this as a movie? Yes, I am. God damn it. And most of my ratings are going to be lower anyway because, I'm comparing this shit to one parademon. One parademon out of 5.
Yep. I know
because of all the reasons I
knew you were
ranted.
going to give one parademon out of 5. I am going to rate it how I enjoyed it as a movie. As a superhero movie, as a Justice League movie. Is it what I wanted and all that I thought it could be comparatively to other DC movies? No. So I'm probably going to give it 2.75 parademons. So it's right in the middle.
Okay.
Right
all
in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
It's not...
You said you liked it, though. I figured it'd be like at least 3.
2.75 is close enough. It's almost a 3. It's almost a 3. There's so much more that they could have done to it. I think general audiences will like this movie more. And
they do.
From
what I'm hearing, yeah.
And that's what they were going for. And I mean, I get it. It's not... There's a lot that's missing from this movie. One thing I was really disappointed in is in the Wonder Woman movie, of course, and granted it was her own solo movie, but she was very powerful and she was this very strong figure. And I felt like she kind of got lost in this movie. Again, my favorite person was the Flash. I thought they handled the Flash really well. I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed the acting. I'm excited to see the Aquaman movie. It did get me excited for that because I like Jason Momoa, but he was pretty much playing himself. He was being Jason Momoa.
Of course. They cut out one scene of him drinking, by the way.
Yeah, well,
Yet another cut.
There was 4 more scenes of him drinking.
Probably.
So that's fine. There was a lot. So I am excited to see the Aquaman movie and where it goes. Batman and Superman, which should have been the strongest presence, I felt they got lost for the
Trinity,
most part.
and in general, the Trinity got lost. You're right. Flash and Cyborg were great, as you mentioned. Aquaman was awesome, I guess. It's there you go. Those are kind of our final thoughts. And this is a product, again, of what people wanted. This is what, if you didn't, I saw the perfect tweet is, if you didn't like Batman v Superman, you're not allowed to dislike Justice League, because this is literally the opposite. This is everything that you asked for. This all your complaints about Batman v Superman are addressed in Justice League. This is no longer a movie for fans of the DCEU. Mm-hmm. This is a movie for people that critiqued and have been hating the DCEU since Man of Steel. This is a movie for them. And if you didn't like that and you were bitching about the other ones, fuck yourself. Because that is what the movie was, and that is a response to your critiques. So this is what I'm really upset about it, because this isn't the movie that we wanted. And again, you said it. You don't blame them. I don't blame them. They wanted to make it, and the other movies were making a shit ton of money.
Right.
But they were trying to make that money and appease the critics. Critics are still fucking shitting on it. Of course they are, because it's, honestly, it's still a shitty movie, and I'm shitting on it with them, but they're doing it for reasons that are like, well, it's not like BVS. It's like, fuck you, man. You gave BVS a shitty fucking review.
You said it was horrible.
Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. So that's why I'm upset, because there's a no-win right here, and now the fans of the DCEU are suffering for it. And some aren't. Some liked it. They liked the lighter tones. Maybe that's what they were looking for too. At me, I wanted more to digest. There wasn't there. It wasn't like a DCEU movie. It was half of one. And it sucks. It really does suck.
And I really hope that DC sees this, you know, that they see that
Warner
Brothers, that even though they're trying to go in this direction, they're still getting bad, you know, reviews, and hopefully go back to the format that they were at before. And
just make the movie.
Right.
Make the art. Make the fucking vision. Like, make the fucking thing.
Give us something to digest, to think about. If they had taken, and granted this was a shorter movie, it was just over 2 hours, just under 2 hours. It was right at that mark. If they had done 30 more minutes and added a Steppenwolf scene, added, you know, left those scenes in where Wonder Woman's talking to Batman about how he's changed, and do other little things like that, it would have been a much stronger movie. It would have been a much stronger story. And it would have been more what we were looking for.
Hopefully. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe there's an original cut without the fucking orange and pink sky, and I have no fucking clue. I have no idea. We never saw the black Superman suit, and that's what Henry Cavill was teasing, and maybe that was just literally a teaser, or we would have gotten the black suit with the mullet and they cut that shit out because of the rewrites too. I have no idea.
Why did his hair keep growing in the grave? I don't know.
Comics, man. Gotta keep it going.
Only the back of his hair grew in the grave.
As we mentioned, like maybe he wasn't dead the whole time. He was trying to appear more feminine to Batman. That's the whole reason.
Or maybe they add another scene where they cut his hair into a mullet. Guys.
Oh, another fucking joke. Yeah, guys. If you liked it, great. I don't blame you. It's fine. It's not. I look for different things in these things, and unfortunately, I again lie against everyone else, I guess. I don't know. I don't fucking know. If you liked it, great. I didn't like it. Critics didn't like it, so I'm on the same side as the fucking critics for different reasons. Yep. And it's really bizarre. It's a weird position I'm in. So I want to see more of these things. I want to keep seeing these. Hopefully Joe Whedon. I don't fucking Joe Whedon's Batgirl. I'm gonna fucking stay away from that shit probably. Yeah. I don't fucking know. No idea. But hopefully Zack Snyder returns, and as he said on, not Twitter, there was a different program that he uses, different app, but he said, I'm sorry I haven't seen Justice League. It was like almost days later, and he's like, I haven't seen Justice League yet, and I apologize that I couldn't finish the trilogy for you. So it's almost as if him saying, like, this isn't the movie that I wanted to give you guys. Yeah. And it got cut to hell, and it got reshot when... And it turns out, we were saying, yeah, it's still Zack Snyder's film. It turns out it fucking wasn't. Look at what fucking ended up happening, and now people are piecing together the cuts. So, I'm not reviewing it as of like what it could have been, but what we ended up getting, and we ended up getting a pretty shitty movie, unfortunately. And that's, if you liked it, awesome. One more time. Can't say it enough. I don't blame you. I'm not going to say you don't know any better. I'm not going to say, you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you didn't. That's what it is. That was my review. One parademon, you've got 2.75 parademons. So that is our review for Justice League, and the fucking harshest review, I think, since Avengers or something. I don't know, maybe another Marvel movie. I still liked it more than the Marvel movies, so I don't know. Like I will say I did not like it more than Captain America 1, 2, or 3. I did not like it more than Iron Man. Maybe I liked it more than Iron Man. I have no idea. Like, I'm so fucking confused right now. But there are better Marvel movies than there are with Justice League. Yes. So you got me to admit that shit. And it's all because of the Joe Whedon. Good job, Joe. Well done, WB execs. You've done it. Made that shit. So, I don't. What else do you want to say before we close out? I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Much like Superman, you're back.
I rose from the grave.
That's a greater return right there. Kelli is back. Palpa Kelli, the Emperor.
You don't even have to CGI out my mustache. So. And Leo's here. He's letting you know what he thinks of this. He's like, Mama, I'm fucking hungry. Come on. What are you sitting here talking?
Let's finish this up.
But yes, I'm very glad to be back. Again, a huge thank you to all our listeners for staying on, to everybody who chimed in and filled in for me so that I could take the time that I needed to rest and recover, because God, man, it's hard pushing out a baby. It takes a long time. I actually read an article once that said it takes a full year for a woman's body to go back to normal. Mm-hmm. So I still have a long way to go, but good enough for now. And again, a huge thank you to you for still doing the podcast when you could have easily just said, I'm taking a break too.
Oh, that's true. That's fucking true.
Yeah. You still put the time into it, finding all the people to come on the show. And everything.
If none of them had volunteered, there wouldn't have been episodes. So huge credit to the Brokettes, the Broquette Corps that came through for you. And because of that, you had episodes for the last 5 or 6 weeks. So better than nothing, right? And they did a fucking bang up job. They did awesome. And it was great. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of work on their end. They took time out of their day. They researched the notes and came through for us. So huge thanks to the Broquette Corps. I'm really happy you're back.
Yeah.
Hashtag
happy to be back.
welcome home.
Thank you.
You can follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke and at Palpa Kelly. Also, Facebook.com/The Reasons I'm Broke. But for a link of everywhere you can find us, head on over to TheReasonsI'mBroke.com. Let us know what you thought of the theme song, and hopefully more updates coming along in the next month or so.
Thank you guys so much. Once again, I am Palpa Kelly with my return.
I'm Daniel.
And little Leo is here, and we'll see you next week.